Hello and welcome to the next Automat Devlog. Today I'm going to talk about bubble menu. A bubble menu is a new mechanism within Automat that serves as a context menu for the user. So context menus are a mechanism for stuffing extra options somewhere into UI. You cannot fit everything on screen. Sometimes you just have to hide some of the options because they will just take too much space. They would make the design ugly and unreadable. So it's a balance, right? Most options should be visible out of the box, but sometimes it's worth to hide them. Do we have to hide them? If you look around in real world, you will see that we don't really have any context menus. No thing around you actually works like a context menu. Maybe drawers, right? Drawer is somewhat like a context menu. You open it and then you have a list of options inside. But it's something that we never really use in physical reality. Like whenever we have an object that we want to touch, that we want to do something with it, we usually use tools. So we have those separate objects around us that allow us to interact with other objects, to change them in some way. I can use the pencil to draw in my notebook, or I can use scissors to cut a page. None of those options are context menu within the notebook. So if we follow this, let's call this tool pattern, if the user interface actually imitates physical tools, then you kind of don't need context menus. This pattern is common in graphics software, Photoshop, Paint, GIMP, right? You always have a toolbar with a list of tools. It's very intuitive. Still, we have those context menus, and there are good reasons why we would want them. If you imagine like a car mechanic, fixing a car, like turning the screw with a spanner. Usually you don't need just any spanner. There is some specific diameter, for example, of a wrench that you need to do something. So this is what context menus help with. When I grab my notebook and I want to write something in it, it would be convenient if the pen was somewhere nearby. So many notebooks allow you to do exactly that, to attach a pen to the notebook. This is one mechanism. There is another, and you can see it, for example, when I right-click somewhere here. It is a mechanism for teaching. Like when I right-click somewhere, it shows me what options I can use and also what keyboard shortcuts I can use to do those things faster. There are tons of things that could benefit from this in physical reality. Like I showed you scissors. You can use scissors to cut paper. You can also use scissors to cut some vegetables. It's something that some cooks do, but few people know that scissors work just as well on lettuce as on paper. So our context menu should do exactly that. It should make it easier for the user to reach for the right tool, and it should be a teaching mechanism. So if somebody's new to the interface, it should be possible to discover what things can be done. What are they're called affordances in design terminology. So one of the primary objectives for us is to make this menu fast to activate. It's something that the conventional menu doesn't really excel at. Like, it's fairly good because it follows this principle called Fitts law. So if you're not familiar with Fitts law, it's theory, empirical theory, but with tons of evidence for it, about how fast actions in the user interface can be performed. It says that the action is faster the bigger the click target is, and it's slower the bigger the distance to click is. It's kind of intuitive. If you have a mouse cursor and you want to move your mouse some other place, you have some accuracy So you need to accelerate mouse, deaccelerate mouse, and you need to end at the right button. So this is what traditional context menus do. They open very closely to the mouse, so the distance is basically 0. And the options are also fairly large, like relatively, so it's very fast to activate it like that. But it's not perfect. There is a trick that allows us to make it even faster. The trick is to change the layout of the menu. So instead of showing menu of options top down, like a restaurant menu, we can show them in a circle. Because if an option is shown in a circle like that, then you can activate it not by clicking it, but just by moving your mouse far enough. And the nice property of those boundary-based activations is that they don't force you to deaccelerate your mouse. So you can just fling your mouse very quickly in some direction and it activates an option. It's incredibly fast, and the interfaces which use this technique are very fun to use. Very responsive and very fun to use. There are other factors which we should take care of. When we are talking about speed, we should also take care of legibility. So when I open the menu, how quickly can I parse what is on screen? If the menu is very fast, I'm speaking from experience, it's possible to use the menu accidentally. So to activate some options that you didn't intend to activate. And because of that, it's very important to have a good feedback. So different options should respond differently, using different sounds, different visuals. It's also valuable to have a good undo mechanism. So let's look at an example of how a menu designed like that can look like. So this is a design. This is a predecessor of Automat. It's a mobile environment for automating smartphones. If I play it, you can see how menu works in this system. It's a circular menu. They have some indicators about what will happen if we activate them, and pausing on any single options shows a help bubble that tells you what given option does. And this help bubble actually, it's not super visible here, but phones are multi-touch. So this environment actually uses that. So if you're holding with one finger the screen, so that it shows the bubble menu, you can use the other finger to actually click and ask for more help. Multi-touch is a nice thing. It complicates a lot of things, but many things are also easier because of multi-touch. So this is design. In Automat, we are a little bit more skeuomorphic. So we are trying to use more natural metaphors in the user interface. The menu is not just a piece of slightly rounded rectangles and black and white icons. We're actually trying to make the interface look like what it does. When looking for the right metaphor for this, my favorite example were flowers. Flowers are something that we see all around us. They have this nice circular shape, and they usually have petals that can be picked. And the petals, picking a petal is kind of like cutting a branch of a plant. They also have this fun property that they will grow when you cut them. So it opens up so many possibilities for nice visualization of this. This sort of visualization would be very, very tricky though. Good animation of plants is hard. In Automat we have a little bit of that here, but those plants are not very natural. They are following pre-recorded paths. So this is not the direction we went in Automat. So our final design actually resembles, it's not big, it's not such a big reveal because you probably know this from the title of this devlog. Our bubble menu is a bubble. So the advantage of this bubble metaphor, I will zoom in so we can see better, is that first of all, it's pretty, and being pretty is important in user interface. Second of all, it's something that everybody had encountered pretty much in their life. Bubbles are naturally round, and they have this. The nicest thing about bubbles is that they have this natural boundary that pops when you touch it. So it is actually good at signaling that touching the edge will do something. If you are touching edge of a bubble with an arrow, the bubble is going to pop, right? Those are all nice advantages. The last one is that bubbles are incredibly easy to animate. The mathematics of bubble reflection are pretty well described. It's called, I think, film interference. Lots of articles and nice shader examples you can see. So this is how Many works in Automat. The way it works right now is not how it will look eventually. There are some other aspects that we would like to obtain. So one thing is that the options should appear at consistent positions so that it's possible to create muscle memory. When I was working with design, this muscle memory was super valuable. It was possible to operate on multiple objects by just very quick movements, like you move finger right down and upper right, and you memorize this movement in your muscle memory. So when you want to do something in the future, you just do and it's activated. So consistent option positions are very important. They are still not there in Automat, but they will eventually. Then we have animations. If you took a closer look, you probably saw that animations they use this zooming in approach where the bubble starts small and grows. This is not how bubbles appear in real life, because if you played with these with those toys that make bubbles, they usually create a film of soapy water, and then when you blow on this film, it slowly creates a convex surface and eventually it detaches, forming a round bubble. The thing is, the round bubble that is formed is usually smaller than it depends how strong you blow, but the bubble is typically smaller than the surface that it was created from. So typically, like the bubbles in Automat, when they appear, they should not appear as growing from small to large, but actually as shrinking from a large but flat film of soap into a circular, slightly smaller bubble. Lastly, there is also the wobble aspect. When you create a bubble by blowing air, the bubble doesn't start as a perfect sphere. It's usually slightly stretched and it oscillates in a fun way. The surface tension of water tries to optimize the shape of the bubble. So this wobble, it's a nice aspect of this. Then there is the bubble disappearance. The bubble disappears in Automat instantly right now, but in reality, when you pop a bubble, it explodes into a mist of tiny water droplets. It's very subtle. You will only see it if you look at bubbles at slow motion videos, but once you see this, you will realize that this effect is there and it's kind of important for the bubble to feel right. Then the bubbles in Automat still don't have an integrated help system, so this is something that has to come. And lastly, Automat is about automation, so it is important to design the bubble interactions in such a way that when you create a bubble, you can not only execute this action once, but you can form a repeatable machine that will perform this action repeatedly for you. And this is another aspect that we need to take care of, but probably more about this later. There is one more that I will mention. It's that hovering over an object even before we open the bubble menu, at this point we should already be using the mouse position to signal to the user what actions are available. So I think there is something that we can do with mouse position that will make the system even more readable. Maybe it's a topic for another devlog. Okay, so those were bubbles in Automat. Okay, so thanks for watching this devlog and see you next time. Bye.